Welcome to the Panthers Sports Report, presented by the Milwaukee Brewing Company. Founded on the principles of crafting and creating beers using the best local ingredients, make sure to visit them today at either one of their locations in the Arena District or in the 3rd Ward. Hello, welcome to this edition of the Panthers Sports Report, presented by the Milwaukee Brewing Company. We talk baseball. Matt Menzel alongside baseball head coach Scott Doffick. He is back for his 15th season at the helm, but 27th season now with the program. And let's start in this first segment by getting to know you and your coaching staff a little bit better and mention, okay, you've been at the helm now 15 seasons. You were hired as the 7th head coach back in September of 2006. Let's flash back. What do you remember about, okay, season number 1 at the helm in the spring of 2007? And I guess when you look back, how do you feel you've grown as a head coach since that first season?
Well, that's a good question. I started here really, you mentioned it would have been the fall of 94, season of 95, and myself along with Jerry Augustine, we kind of ran the program in tandem there for a while, and so I had experience basically running the program, and so it was really a pretty smooth transition. I didn't think much of it. Certainly there are different responsibilities that come along with it, but it was really a smooth transition, honestly.
Well, from a baseball standpoint, maybe how has the game changed since you took over at the helm? I know certainly from a technology standpoint, you have more, numbers, video that you certainly have your fingertips you can get to, but how do you think the game has changed, or maybe how has your coaching style changed thanks to technology?
Well, I think if you can't speak the tech language with recruits and with your athletes, you're going to fall behind. So I think just really in order to capture their ear, different than years ago, you have to know what the heck you're talking about in their language somewhat. And then just the data and information that you can collect now really has changed the game in the way that you can scout and recruit, and really across the board from A to Z, everything. You can do anything with the technology that's out there now that years ago you had to really kind of just trust your eyes and your baseball experience, and now there's a metric that goes behind each one of those things.
You're a local guy. When you look back at your baseball background, your playing days, you played at Arrowhead High School, you played at Waukesha County Community College, won a batting title with that program. You played within the Los Angeles Dodgers organization. In fact, I'm told that you can find a Scott Doffick San Antonio baseball card on eBay these days. But you look back at your baseball days, what did you realize, okay, when baseball is all said and done as far as playing goes, that coaching is the route you wanted to go?
I think when I was playing for the Dodgers in the off season, I was working in an indoor baseball facility and doing lessons and instruction, and getting to work with younger guys and having an opportunity to grow the game, even just with individuals. It was something that I just felt comfortable doing. And then as you mature a little bit more, you can see the bigger picture, and I was excited to get an opportunity. Wasn't really sure coming out of pro ball what I wanted to do, and Augie gave me that opportunity, and we had so much fun together, and it was pretty soon starting that job that I knew this is what I wanted to do.
Now, before we brag about your coaching staff as well, curious to know, when you look back at your coaching life, who have been some of the biggest influences in shaping you into the coach you are today?
Well, I think there's two, really. My high school coach, Tim O'Driscoll. If he's not still I don't think he's the winningest coach in the state anymore. I think Hughes at Franklin is, but I think he might be second. Just enthusiasm for the game, incredible. He certainly did know the X's and O's of the game, but more so than that, he was just a great team synergy builder. He treated the last kid on the bench and the very best player exactly the same. And his teams always played with a lot of energy and passion, and that certainly rubbed off. And then I had an opportunity in pro ball for 5 straight years to play underneath Jerry Royster, who was an 18-20 year big leaguer, utility infielder, kind of like myself at the time, and he took me from rookie ball to single A to double A to triple A all the way up, and I just love the way he coached. He was a player's coach for sure. Professionalism, you learn how to be responsible for your own actions, but yet play with fun and competitiveness and lightheartedness, and I think the way the game should be played.
Of course, we bring up Tim O'Driscoll, a longtime official scorer for the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's talk about your coaching staff. You have Sean Wagner, the associate head coach, recruiting coordinator. He played for the Panthers. He played for you. How neat is that now to coach alongside Sean?
Unbelievable. He is a tireless worker. He was a really good player. Physically, he was a solid player, but mentally that was his strength, and you could see real early if he wanted to get into coaching, he was going to be good at it. And then he's put the work in. He's went out and he's coached a couple other programs, and he's grown his game to this point, and we're super fortunate to have him. I mean, he's just done a great job.
What's neat is you look at your coaching staff, and they all have Milwaukee Panther ties. You look at
Yeah.
Corey Bigler. He's been around now 18 seasons, pitching coach. I mean, he brings that experience, but he also brings that professional baseball background. He was drafted by Pittsburgh.
Yeah, good player, good pitcher, super competitive guy. You talk about a guy that's really done a good job keeping up with the changes of the game. Really has a great mind for pitching and everything that goes into it, and super organized. But when you think about Corey, he's just an incredible human being. One of the nicest men you'll ever meet. Hardest worker, selfless guy. He'd do anything for the program. Certainly my right-hand man.
And a couple other guys on your staff. You have Mike Piccaro. He is back. He was the field manager for the Kenosha Kingfish in the Northwoods League this past summer. And then you have Mike Getz, who was the director of operations. What do they bring to your coaching staff?
A lot of the same. I mean, just hard-working, great human beings. They're willing to do whatever it takes to see the program take another step, and they have their areas of expertise, and we're just super fortunate to have those guys.
When you look at your coaching staff, the continuity there,
Yeah.
how key is that, to this team's success? You look at your time at the helm, and with the COVID-19 short season withstanding, this team's won at least 21 games every year since you took over the baseball program. How important is it to have that continuity, that the consistency alongside you?
I think it's really important. When you have continuity and guys that you've been around and can trust, you're not getting 100 different philosophies, and you're not getting people coming and going, and not that you don't necessarily understand that can be okay too. Sometimes I hear a different voice. I do get that, but at the same time, when I know that I can trust one of my staff I can just give him a project and he can go. I don't have to really coach those guys. I'm entitled the head coach. To me, we're all 4 or 5 of us are working in unison. We just all have our own individual roles, and I can completely trust everything those guys are going to do. And that is solely about continuity.
And it's a staff that is coaching 28 players back from that shortened 2020 season. We'll talk about some of the guys as we continue on this edition of the Panthers Sports Report presented by the Milwaukee Brewing Company. Welcome back to the Panthers Sports Report presented by the Milwaukee Brewing Company, talking Panther baseball in this week's edition with Scott Dothick. I'm Matt Menzel. And Coach, 2020, like with every other sport, shortened thanks to COVID-19, or in some cases, some sports completely canceled. What did you find out? Okay, you guys were 15 games into the season. How did you find out the season was canceled? How did you go about addressing that with your team?
Yeah, we were basically hours away from, just 2 hours, I think, away from leaving to go to Wright State to open up our conference season. And the word came down from administration that, let's hold the bus and we got to see what we're going to do here. And it wasn't but another hour that we realized that this thing was getting shut down. And in the beginning, we were hoping that was just that weekend. Then you had the Rudy Gobert thing blow up, and the whole world seemed to stop about 24 hours after that. And so, as a coach, no matter how long you've been doing this and how many athletes you've dealt with, there's no way to really address something like that with your team. Those guys had put so much work into that, and you want to get to a point where you're ready to compete at a high level in your league. And what can you say? I didn't really have the words to say other than, here's our situation, and now we're part of a bigger team, and we got to do our part to try to stop this situation that the whole world's going through, and we're going to just try to make the very best out of it from here.
So with an expanded off season, and once you started to think baseball again, maybe in the summer, going into the fall, what was the expectation for you, for the guys, to prepare for what could be here in 2021?
So many unknowns. I mean, everything is so upside down as far as recruiting and roster sizes and practice policies and testing and when can we get together. And I mean, so it was just learning kind of on the fly, and then at the same time you're having to try to mitigate the virus, which is not easy. So you had, you know, guys coming and going in practice and contact tracing and all kinds of stuff. So it's been an unbelievable experience, I can tell you that. It's not certainly anything that we'd want to have to deal with again. But like I said earlier, I mean, all you can do is the best that you can do with the information you have, and so that's kind of how we've taken it. Woke up every day with a plan, and a lot of those days we had to change it. But you know, if not, we just stick your nose down and go to work.
Let's break down your roster. You have 28 players back from 2020. You added 13 newcomers. When you look at the roster, do you look at it as an experienced bunch? Is it a young team? Is it a blend of both?
It's about as inexperienced as a team as you can have at this level. We have 23 or 24 freshmen, COVID freshmen, or sophomores who have almost no experience, and we have 3 seniors. So across the board, we are inexperienced. My goal was, you know, in 2019 we were in the Horizon League championship game. We lost a bunch of good players to graduation and some to the draft as well. And so we, you know, I knew going into 20, our goal was to try to get these guys some experience, challenge them as much as we can with the schedule without just killing them, and then that all got shut down. So, you know, our development, I felt like, definitely suffered. You know, not having last year to ramp up, and even the summer, a lot of the summer teams were shut down, and the fall was disjointed. We really couldn't train this year, November, December, or January, due to COVID. As much as we would like, or really any for some people. So we are super inexperienced, and so we got a whole bunch of guys learning on the fly here, and we're trying to ramp up as quick as we can. And you can see it starting to build a little bit, gaining a little bit of confidence, and you can see some of the at-bats starting to slow down a little bit, and the heart rate and some of that starting to slow down.
One of the veterans that is back is Nagolski. He is back for his junior season. He was part of the Horizon League All-Freshman team in 2018, and when the season was shut down last spring, he was leading the team in batting average. He was near the top in the Horizon League, and it seems like, anyways, at least to start this 2021 season, he's picked up where he's left off.
Yeah, and he's a perfect example. The first week, his roommate tested positive for COVID, so he had to miss the first 8 games due to contact tracing, and that would have been nice to have him in the lineup. And we lost, you know, a handful of games by 1 run or 2 run, and I was down at third base scratching my head going, I wish this was Nags was up right now. But it is what it is. We've had him back here the last couple of weeks, and he's kind of picked up, like you said, right where he left off, and he's just done a nice job.
How about a guy like Luke Seidel, who he was a Triton Junior College transfer, and at least by looking at numbers, it looks like it's been a smooth transition.
Yeah, he's done a good job. He's, I think as far as talent-wise, he has tools. You know, he's got bat speed. He can really run. He plays a good center field. But you know, at the same time, you can see his at bats at times get rushed. Not quite understanding approaches and things like that at the level that I think he's capable of. No question he's going to get there. He's just got to kind of live through some of this. At this level, he's got to live through it for a little bit here, and I think he will. This last weekend, the last couple weekends, actually, he's been banged up with a bad back. So hopefully we can get him healthy and kind of swinging it the way he was.
What are you seeing from a freshman like Marcus Klein, who was part of the team in 2020, still listed as a freshman? He's a Division III Player of the Year at the high school level in the state of Wisconsin. What are you seeing from him so far?
Just great instincts. He moves around the field like a baseball player. He sees the ball well. He identifies spin. He's got good timing in the box. His hands work good. I just think he's a baseball player. And with added time and strength, the kid's going to be really something special.
We could go on and on listing this lineup. You have a veteran like Mike Ferry, you have Nate DeYoung. He's on the team with Jack Krause, Mitchell Bubin. Again, the list goes on and on. But what are you seeing from his offense? Are you pleased with the progress they made from day one to now going into April? You've seen the adjustments being made? Starting to see it. You know, we got off to, I would say, a pretty slow start offensively. Now, the competition we played had something to do with that, so you got to give them credit. You know, opening up in the SEC. And then even going to Ohio after that, we faced a potential first-round pick here.
who's going to be in the big leagues in a couple of years. He was dynamic for sure, and I think that pitching got us on our heels a little bit, you know. But I'm starting to see the ball slow down a little bit. We're starting to square more balls up. We still are chasing way too many pitches, and we're showing some inexperience still at times, but starting to get a little bit of a feel for, you know, situations and who really blends best in what situation. And for me personally and our staff, just trying to get to know our roster a little bit and where their skill set really is going to help us and help the team. And I think that's part of it too. You know, we've been on ice too as coaches and trying to figure out what we got here is really what this first month was about.
Well, let me piggyback off that as we wrap up this second segment. Okay, so nearly 20 games in as we sit here and tape this. At this point, do you have a pretty good sense of what your everyday lineup may look like, or does that continue to be a work in progress?
Work in progress, but I do think that I can tell you within 12 or 13 guys, and I think we're going to be a lineup that does not plays 8 guys or 9 guys every day. I think we're going to be able to match up lefties, righties a little bit with guys coming in off the bench, and you know, using a little bit more of our roster than an everyday, here's my lineup and let it roll itself out. And sometimes you have a team like that. I personally like a team that can give you some flexibility. Mm-hmm. I think it keeps more people involved, and I think it helps, you know, down the stretch if you have injuries or whatever, guys have been in there a little bit more. So I'm excited about the direction of that.
When we come back, we'll talk about the pitching staff and a brand new home field for Panther baseball as we continue on the Panthers Sports Report presented by the Milwaukee Brewing Company. Welcome back to the Panthers Sports Report presented by the Milwaukee Brewing Company. Our final segment on this baseball edition, talking with head coach Scott Doffick. My name is Matt Menzel, and coach, let's talk pitching now. And you look at your rotation, and you have a junior right-hander and Mike Edwards. What does he bring to the rotation?
Well, I call Mike, his first name is Ed. I call him Steady Eddie. You kind of know exactly what you're going to get with him pretty much each and every time out. He's a 4-pitch college pitcher. You know, he works both sides of the plate. When he's going well and he's healthy, any pitch, any count, does a good job of holding runners. He's just been a solid arm for us for a few years.
You have a lefty in Jack Mahoney. He was come out of the bullpen as of a couple of years ago, and now finds his way into the rotation. How has that transition been for him?
Inconsistent. You know, he's a guy with just a ton of potential at this level and even beyond. Just had a hard time repeating his delivery and repeating his outings. I mean, he threw the ball yesterday, for the most part great. I think he struck out 7 in 4 innings and came out of the bullpen yesterday. You know, he's a long levered 6'8" guy, and I think sometimes those guys take a little longer to get a feel for their body and be able to repeat their delivery. And once he does that, it's going to be special. And he's just had a hard time being consistent with it, but it's not been for a lack of effort out of his part. He's doing everything we're asking of him, and you know, I appreciate that. Another
southpaw and freshman Frye, part of that rotation. What about his, you know, repertoire caught your eye that put him in the rotation from day one?
Intangibles. The guy is he is the type of pitcher that's just really hard to find. It's not going to be about velocity, although his velocity is starting to come a little bit. He just has the ability to pitch the baseball. He changes speeds. He really can dictate the tempo of the game, works fast, holds runners. All of his stuff plays up because he dictates. He's going to give you a quality start each and every time out, and he's just a super competitive kid at the same time. And he's going to be fun to watch for years to come here.
Is it fair to say at this point you're still trying to lock down that number 4 starter in that weekend rotation?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and I'm not sure we're going to. I think similar to the hitting, we're going to maybe match it up. You know, righties, lefties, maybe like yesterday was a bullpen start, where it makes the most sense against the lineup that we're facing. Yesterday, they had 5 lefties in the lineup, so it made sense for us. If I could start with a righty for a couple innings and then flip it and get a lefty in there, they were going to have to either adjust on the fly or have lefties face Mahoney. So that's exactly what happened, and I think that's what we'll probably do here moving forward.
As we sit here, 19 different guys have pitched at least to one batter in this 2021 spring. We look at the bullpen, you know, whether it be the middle innings or back into that bullpen. How's the bullpen stacking up at this point?
Really like what we're doing. I think that's the strength of this team. And it's young, too. We've got a kid at the back end of that thing who's a freshman who's sitting 92 to 96 miles an hour and hammering the strike zone. This guy's got a chance to be a first-day draft pick at some point here, and just an awesome kid too. Just a great athlete, and not just him. We've got Matt McCarty, who's doing a great job coming out of the pen, whether it's 2 or 3 innings or 1 inning. I like the options that we have moving forward in our bullpen. I really, really do.
Now for the Panthers, they began their 2021 season non-conference play against Kentucky, against Ohio, then in the Horizon League play with UIC, Northern Kentucky. But let's talk about Purdue-Fort Wayne only because, okay, look at the weekend of March 26th through the 28th. Forget about the game itself. How about the game within the game, the stadium, a brand new feel for Panther baseball after 27 seasons at the Hank. That is history, Franklin Field now, and boy, that had to be a special weekend for the Panthers, for this program to, again, play at Franklin Field finally after having to wait an extra year.
Unbelievable. The place is incredible, and it's been a long time coming. We've been working on it, talking about it, working on it for, it feels like decades. And actually is decades, honestly, in my time here, I've been trying to do something like this for literally decades. And to get to that point, or this point, to be in a venue like that and have something where the program can really flourish and grow and represent the state of Wisconsin in college baseball at the highest level is just an incredible gift, and it's an honor, really, to be able to say that we have this situation now.
What was the players' response? Certainly for the guys that have been around now the last few years, that played at the Hank, that were waiting this opportunity, how did they respond?
Well, I think everybody that has been involved is just floored by how great it is. You feel for those guys a few years ago, or let's say the juniors and seniors that we have now, because we were talking about this when we were recruiting them, and you're talking about 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe. And for them to finally be able to get games in there. Now we've practiced in there in the fall, and so we've been accustomed to it somewhat that way. But it's different when the scoreboard's on and
Sure.
The lights are actually going for real, and just an honor. Honestly, it's just an honor.
Yeah, a great weekend certainly for Panther baseball, and going forward, you mentioned recruiting. Now that you have the finished product, now that you have this to show, how does that change the game?
Well, I think it keeps you in the conversation with anybody, and in the years past, we couldn't get in the conversation. And I'm not saying I blame the recruits, because I just know that's how it is. If the competitors, if our competitors are going to have something like we have now, those recruits, they're gonna lean that way, and I just get it. That's the way it is. And at this point now, we're in the conversation, and I feel like if we can get them on campus, it's a beautiful campus. I'm super excited about the staff we have here and our ability to educate and graduate all of our athletes and give them a really good experience and really teach them how to play the game at a high level. And now we can do it in this type of a venue. I feel like we have an opportunity to compete with anybody in recruiting.
Does it change how you go about recruiting in the sense that, okay, early indications are it's going to be a pitcher-friendly ballpark? Does that kind of play into the kind of players you try to now attract to the Panther baseball team?
Yeah, what a good question. There's so much green space out in the outfield now that if we can't run out there and cover, we're going to have a hard time, because those gaps are enormous. And so, we're going to have to recruit to some speed here. And I think ground ball pitchers, the turf seems to play a little bit slow and the ball in the air, so we need guys that can pound the zone and go run and go get it.
So let's wrap it up. As we sit here again, you get ready to take on a busy April month of baseball. Okay, 20 games in or so. Right now, where this team's at, how do you feel?
I feel, first of all, I feel really good that we're a team. I think it's taken us probably 3 weeks to a month to get to this point. And not that, not that we weren't a team before, but I think adversity can kind of break you apart or galvanize you, and I think we're definitely seeing us going in the right direction, and the culture seems really, really good right now. And we know we got a heck of a challenge out in front of us, and that's kind of what makes it fun. But I just love the direction that we're going. The guys are working hard. We got to get healthy. We're not very healthy right now, but that's going to happen in a baseball season. So I'm excited. We got young guys that are hungry to get better, and we've got some older guys that are willing to lead a little bit, and let's see what happens.
Well, Coach, all the best. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Head coach of the Panther baseball team, Scott Doffick, Matt Mendel, thanks to our crew behind the scenes, and thanks for watching this edition of the Panthers Sports Report presented by the Milwaukee Brewing Company.